Hello and welcome. Abandoned places have a special atmosphere. Some of them attract with their beauty, others with interesting history and secrets. Time and nature do not spare them. Mystery and danger, beauty and ugliness, romance and pragmatism, all these qualities, whimsically intertwined with each other, attract attention and arouse interest. Looking at the landscapes of places abandoned by man, you can't help but wonder what the world would be like if there were no people in it. There's something eerie but alluring about abandoned places, whether it's a train graveyard in Bolivia or a subway station near New York. We created this top 10 abandoned places that you don't know about so that you know where to go when you need some adrenaline. Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and press the thumbs up button. It will be interesting, and maybe even scary. Let's get cracking. Kolmanskop. In Namibia, there is an amazing ghost town of Kolmanskop, a walkthrough which will also be an event not for the faint of heart. The city is located right in the middle of the desert. Today many of its destroyed houses with broken frames and doors are covered with sand. The history of the founding of the city is very interesting. It was built in an area where small diamonds were found in the sand. Within a few years, the population of the city increased to several thousand people, in addition to residential buildings, a hospital, a school, a sports stadium, and many other important structures were built here. The abandoned town of Kolmanskop is an important historical landmark for the inhabitants of Namibia. A few years ago, some of its buildings were cleared of sand and restored, and every year the city becomes more and more popular with tourists. The ghost town, founded in the years of the Diamond Rush, is located in the immediate vicinity of Luderitz, so it is not difficult to get to it. Tourists who decide to visit the abandoned city will have the opportunity to look into the once richest and most luxurious houses, visit the old factory for the production of lemonade and even a bowling club, the atmosphere of which today is more like the scenery for a disaster movie. Michigan Central Station. At the time of construction, Michigan Central Station was the tallest railway station in the world. It was built in 1913 for the Michigan Central Railroad. The station was designed by Warren Amp, Wetmore and Reed Amp, STEM, who also designed New York's Grand Central Station. Operation of the Michigan Central Station ceased in 1988, but it was open to the public for most of the 1990s. After large-scale acts of vandalism, the station was closed and is now under protection. Even now, despite all the decay, the station is an architectural splendor, and the majestic building is a real monument of architecture. The station even featured in Eminem's music video for the song Beautiful. The building is an example of classical architecture. The entrance to the station creates Roosevelt Park. The station opened at the very end of 1913 after the old Michigan Central Station building on 3rd Street burned down, the same one that a shunting locomotive had crashed into 7 years earlier. It was built according to the design of the architectural firms Warren Amp, Wetmore and Reed Amp, STEM, who had recently designed the Grand Central Station in New York. The cost of the project area of 46,000 square meters at the end of $15 million. The Roman baths of Caracalla served as a source of inspiration for the architects, as in the New York project. Six Flags Park, formerly Jazzland. In New Orleans, there is an abandoned amusement park, Jazzland, which today looks like an illustration for a horror movie. Rusted and partially destroyed rides, grass, and wild growth breaking through from everywhere, destroyed figures of clowns with a terrible grin. The history of this once colorful and cheerful place is very tragic. Louisiana has suffered from devastating hurricanes throughout its existence. The Jazzland theme park was destroyed during Hurricane Maria in 2005. The park, located in the east of New Orleans with an area of 57 hectares, was opened in 2000 by Alpha Smart Parks under the original name Jazzland. In 2002, it was bought by Six Flags Entertainment Corporation, which is the operator of the largest amusement park chain of the same name. Six Flags New Orleans continued to develop until the ill-fated 2005 when, due to the impact of the elements, was completely flooded for a month. As a result, 80% of the park's buildings and attractions were destroyed or corroded by seawater with no hope of recovery. The only attraction that was lucky to survive, as its high platform remained above the water, is the roller coaster Batman's Way. The Monument House of the Bulgarian Communist Party. In the heart of Bulgaria, where roses are grown, there is the Buzludza Nature Reserve, named after a mountain with a height of 1,441 meters. Once on the Shipka Pass, you will see something unexpected, absolutely out of the picture. What you'll see looks like a flying saucer landing on the top and being abandoned by the team. However, this is not a spaceship at all, but a building and its history are much closer to Earth than it may seem at first glance. The monument house on the summit was built in honor of the Bulgarian Communist Party in the 1980s. It was part of an expensive project that included, in addition to the monument, the construction of paved roads, tourist bases, and many other facilities. The monument house was built to link the communist regime to the myth of the creation of an independent Bulgaria 1,300 years ago. Once inside, you will see something even more exciting than the view from the outside. City Hall Station. The City Hall Station was to become the standard of the New York City subway. Unlike most of the local stations, it was designed with love and care as the most beautiful subway station. But she had to serve a little more than 40 years. Stained glass windows, tiles, and majestic chandeliers. You won't find anything like this anywhere in the New York subway. City Hall Station opened in 1904. At that time, it was the terminus of the Manhattan Main Line, following the Brooklyn Bridge Station. The station's special feature was that it was located on a kind of curl. It allowed trains to immediately turn around and go in the opposite direction. The platform was also made of an arc-shaped shape. However, the station's business card, its beautiful, specially rounded shape, played a cruel joke on it. The old trains were replaced by a new generation of trains, longer ones, to please the growing passenger traffic. All the platforms were simply lengthened, but it was not possible to do so with City Hall, because of its curved shape. As a result, the station had dangerous gaps between the platforms and the doors of the new transport. It was not possible to change this. Besides, according to statistics at that time, the station was used by no more than 600 people, and it was decided to close it, which they did on December 31, 1945. However, you can still get to the station now. To do this, just do not get off at the end of train number 6 and drive on. It will make a U-turn and you will be able to see the once most chic, and now the most famous abandoned station of the New York subway. At one time, the local authorities had an idea to create a transit museum here, but it was never implemented. But the station was chosen by graffiti artists, and painted the walls with hundreds of graffiti. The Cemetery of Steam Locomotives, Uyuni, Bolivia. Uyuni is mostly known for its salt marshes and red lakes, but the region has another unusual tourist attraction, the Cemetery of Abandoned Old Trains. In the early 19th century, plans were made to expand Uyuni's transportation network and run more trains through the city, but the project was abandoned due to technical difficulties and tensions with local indigenous peoples. Then the trains began to be used to transport minerals to port cities in the Pacific Ocean, but the minerals ran out in 1940, the miners left the city, and the equipment remained in the desert. Time and the salt winds had not spared the trains, and now the rusty cars formed a graveyard. Ryugyong Hotel. The spirit of competition makes people do rash things, and sometimes the desire to be the most extends to the heads of state. In 1986, the Westin Stamford Hotel opened in Singapore and became the tallest in the world. The Communist Party of North Korea decided to prove that their engineers could build something even grander, so in 1987, the construction of the Ryugyong began. Nearly 30 years and an estimated $750 million have been spent on this pyramid-shaped building, which is still unfinished. The interior of the 105-story hotel remains a mystery. Before we reveal our top 3, you should like this video and subscribe to our channel. Done? Excellent. And number 3 is Maunsell Sea Forts. Despite the fact that the structures look like the scenery from a science fiction movie, these giant metal towers in the Thames estuary were built to protect England from German air raids during the Second World War. The forts were decommissioned in the 1950s, and the abandoned towers were used by pirate radio operators in the following decades. Today, one of the forts is managed by the Principality of Sealand, and the rest can be easily viewed from a boat or from the shores of the island of Shobe East. The Valle de Mulini. Grey walls of old buildings. Tenacious plants have found shelter between the stone slabs. A mill wheel overgrown with moss. And many other details that remind us that there were once people here. This is probably what all abandoned buildings look like, decrepit, forgotten, falling apart, but not this place. The Valley of the Mills is the ruins of a large medieval city, which are located right in the center of the city, or to be more precise, under it, at the bottom of the gorge that divides the beautiful city of Sorrento into two parts. These mills, carved out of stone in the 13th century, were located in a deep gorge formed after a strong earthquake that occurred 35,000 years ago. Unfortunately, after the industrial boom, the mills were replaced by machines, and people began to leave this place. Due to the high humidity, the buildings quickly became covered with vegetation and acquired an intimidating appearance. Power Station. Built in 1921, the Power Station was one of the largest thermal power plants in Belgium. Its massive cooling tower could cool 480,000 gallons of water per minute. But this plant was also responsible for 10% of all carbon dioxide emissions in the country, so Greenpeace called for the closure of the plant. This happened in 2007, and now the towers, which can no longer provide electricity to the city, attract thrill seekers from all over the world. Which one of these places do you want to visit first? Leave a comment below. Thank you for watching to the end and being active. This world is much more interesting than you can possibly imagine, and we want to show you all of it. See you in the next one.